Good morning, 7th grade. Welcome to day 4 of week 8. Today is May 14th. I'm going to take you through what we are learning today. It is similar to what you did yesterday, where you were calculating angle measures given two complementary angles with algebra. But today we're going to do the same thing, but our angles are going to be supplementary. So remember that supplementary means the two angles add to 180 degrees. So our angles are now going to be set up in the equation and it will equal 180, not 90 today, because we're dealing with supplementary angles. So I'm going to click on the classwork tab to just show you where to locate your work for today. We'll go down to day 4. You'll see that there's a lesson here, supplementary angles with algebra. The lesson is right here, and then there is also a support link. This teacher models a very similar example to what you're exploring today in your lesson, so I would recommend taking a look at that. And then I'll get into the lesson. I'm going to use the bigger version just so you guys can see it better. So your warm-up is given the right angle. We know that these two angles would be complementary, meaning that they add to 90 degrees. So they ask you to find the variable x and then also find the angle ABD. So ABD is this angle right here, x plus 39. So in order to solve this, we would have to set up our equation. So I know that this angle, ABD, is complementary to DBC. So that means that they add to 90 degrees. That's what I have right here. We then plug in what angle ABD is. Angle ABD is x plus 39. That goes right here. And then plus angle DBC. That's this angle right here, 41, so plus 41. And when we put them together, we get a right angle, so we know that it equals 90 degrees. We then combine our like terms, so 39 plus 41 gives us 80, and I bring down the x. I then subtract 80 from both sides to isolate x, and I would get x equals 10. So now that we know that x equals 10, we could solve this angle, and all we do is we plug 10 in for x. So we would, instead of it being x plus 39, it's going to be 10 plus 39, and we get 49. Now a good check to just make sure that this answer makes sense is taking that 49 and adding it to 41. If you don't get 90, then something's wrong, but we're lucky. 41 plus 49 does equal 90, so we know we're correct. Okay? All right. So what do we remember about supplementary angles? So supplementary angles are going to be your angles that add to 180, right? They form a straight line, so they will always be on a straight line. When you put them together, they equal 180. The trick, if you remember, if you take the S in supplementary, you can make it into an 8 to remind you that it is a sum of 180. There's an example here where they give you the one angle is 35 degrees. And if you know that that angle is 35, you could simply subtract 180 minus 35 to find the other angle. And the other angle, LNP, would be 145 degrees. So there's two additional examples just to review this as well on the following slide. I copied them down here. So the first one, notice that it's a straight line, right? And the two angles are cut by this ray. So we know that this angle here is 118, and I don't know this angle. But I know if I put them together, they equal 180 degrees because they fall in a straight line, right? Whenever you can do this, make that half circle, that means they're supplementary, they should add to 180. So to find x, I'm going to simply do 180 minus 118, right? And you guys already did this on Tuesday, so this should be nothing new. I'm just reviewing it because you'll need to know it for today's lesson. So in this case, x would have been 62. Okay, and then a quick check, you want to just make sure that they do add to 180. 62 plus 118 degrees would add to 180, so I know that it's correct. The second equation, they give us this angle, 45, and we're looking for n. Again, they fall on this straight line. So I know that when we put them together, their sum will be 180. So I do the same thing. I'm going to do 180 minus 45. I'll figure out that difference, and we would get 135. So N in this picture will be 135 degrees. Quick check, does 135 plus 45 equal 180? It does, so we know we're correct. Okay, so this part should be nothing new to you. This is what we did on Tuesday. Everyone should be familiar with that. Okay, now we're going to introduce our algebra to it. So, given this picture, I want you all to realize that we are still forming a straight line. So this angle EFH and this angle HFG, when you put them together, they equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to write that supplementary angle here. Let's see. So we got it's splitting, and we have x, and then we have 3x. So the reason why it's with algebra now is because we have these variables involved. Okay, EFG, and then we have H at the top. Okay, so the question wants us to figure out the value of x and then also figure out the angle measures, okay? So I know that angle EFH, I'm going to write that down, plus angle HFG, if I put those two angles together, they're going to equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to put equals 180 degrees. Okay, now I know what angle EFH is it's representing by 3x. So instead of writing EFH, I'm going to put 3x, okay? And I also have something for HFG. HFG is x. So I'm going to put plus x, and I know when they are added together, we're going to get 180. And now this is an equation that all of you should be comfortable solving. We're going to combine our like terms. These are like terms because they both have x. So 3x plus x will give us 4x equal to 180. To solve for x, we simply divide by 4 on both sides. And we're going to get x equals 45. Okay, so using our understanding of supplementary angles, we added the two expressions together and we got that x equals 45. Now we need to also find the angle measures and make sure that they too add to 180. So let's do one angle at a time, okay? I'm going to start with angle EFH. So let's go back. Let's see. EFH was 3x. So EFH equals 3x. But we figured out that x equals 45. So I'm going to now take 45 and plug it in. So I'm going to have angle EFH equals 3, not times x anymore because I know what x is, 3 times 45. And when I multiply 3 times 45, I'm going to get the measure of EFH, which comes out to 135 degrees. Okay, so we have one of our angles. And then the other angle in the picture was angle HFG. So angle HFG equals, inside of it was x. So since we already know what x is, I'm just going to replace x with 45. So angle HFG equals 45 degrees. We don't have to do any more work because that angle equals x. And now that we have the two angles, the last thing you should do is just a quick check. Make sure that these two angles add to 180. If they don't, then something's wrong. Something went wrong in your calculation, but we see that these two do in fact add to 180, so I know that we're correct. All right, so everything I showed you is in the lesson, exactly how I modeled it. So you have it there too. If I went too fast for anyone, just go back in the video or look back in the lesson and you'll see exactly what I just walked you through. The following slide is your steps. So you have identify the supplementary angles, write your equation equal to 180 today because we are supplementary. Solve the equation for the variable, then solve for the angle measures by plugging in the value of the variable. Check to make sure that your two angles sum to 180. Okay, so let's look at another one. This one's a little more involved. Let's see. All right, so we have our supplementary angles. Okay, we have W, X, Y, and Z now. And then we have X over here. And then we have 3X minus 20 over here. Okay, so similar to before, let's identify the angles. So we have WXZ, right? Angle WXZ plus angle YXZ. If I add them together, if I put them together, this angle put together with this angle, we know that it would equal 180 because they're forming this straight line. See this straight line? Right? When they are put together, they make that straight line, and we know a straight line is 180 degrees, so these angles are supplementary. So we set it equal to 180. Now, I'm going to rewrite this with the expressions of the angle. So WXZ is 3X minus 20. So I'm going to write that instead. Plus angle YXZ is X. So I'm going to put plus X equals 180. Okay? And now we solve our equation. So we should see that 3X and X are like terms. So we're going to combine them. We'll get 4X. We're going to bring down the minus 20. So minus 20 equals 180. And then we solve our equation, right? So we're going to add 20 to both sides. I'll get 4X equals 200. Divide by 4. And we'll get X equals 50. Now, sometimes the question might just ask you to solve for X. So you have to be careful. Make sure you read what the question asks for. Sometimes they just want you to find X, and then other times they want you to find the angle measures. Okay, so just be mindful. So we did all of that work, and we got that X equals 50. And now let's find those angle measures. So I'm going to put X equals 50 at the top. And we'll start with our first angle. So our first angle was WXZ. And that was represented by 3X minus 20. I'm going to now plug in 50 for X. So angle WXZ equals 3 times 50 minus 20. Order of operations, I would multiply first. So we'll get WXZ equals 150 minus 20. So our final answer will be angle WXZ equals 130 degrees. Okay, so that's one angle. And then we have our other angle, which was YXZ. Angle YXZ. And that was just X. All right, so X. We already know what X is, so angle YXZ is 50 degrees. That's what we figured out before, right? X equals 50 degrees. And then your quick check is just to make sure that this angle plus this angle equals 180. And I believe it does because 130 plus 50 equals 180. So we know we're correct. Okay? Again, everything I did in the lesson, you'll see that there, including the check. All right? Now, we get a little fancy here. So sometimes you're going to have an expression on both, sitting in both of your angles, right? It's the same thing we just did. It's just a little more calculations because you're combining more than one set of like terms, okay? So we're going to level up like Sierra, all right? Give me a second to just write this on my board so I have the example to model for you, and then I will leave you on your own. Okay, so our first angle is 2x plus 10, and then our second expression is x plus 26. All right, so let's take a look at this, right? We still have angle LMK and KMN, and when they are put together, they form a straight line, which means they are supplementary and they add to 180 degrees. So we have angle LMK, right? That's this angle, plus angle KMN. When they are put together, they form a straight line, which means they are supplementary and they equal 180. Okay? Now I'm going to replace LMK with the value that's in the angles. So we're going to write 2x plus 10 instead, plus KMN is x plus 26. So plus x plus 26 equals 180. Okay, and now same thing we just did. We just have multiple like terms here to put together. So I'm actually going to use a different color marker just so that you can see. So we have 2x, right, can be combined with x. So 2x plus x is 3x. And then you have your positive 10, right, plus 26. That's going to give you a positive 36. So two sets of like terms to combine. But now, check it out. We're back to an equation that we know how to solve. This is something that you guys should all be comfortable with, right? So we're going to subtract 36 from both sides. We'll get 3x equals 144. And then we divide by 3. And we're going to get x equals 48. Okay, so a little more work, not much, but just a little because we had an expression in both angles, right? So now we know that x is 48. If that's all they x for, then you stop. That's it. You figured it out. X equals 48. But we're going to also find the angle measures. So I'm going to put at the top x equals 48, and we're going to start solving. So we're going to do angle LMK first. So angle LMK equals 2x plus 10. Okay, and then I'm going to rewrite it with x replaced with 48. So angle LMK equals 2 times 48 plus 10. Okay, and now we solve. Using our order of operations, we're going to multiply first. So angle LMK equals 2 times 48 is 96. Plus 10, so angle LMK would be a final answer of 106 degrees. All right, so that's one of our angles. We have to find the other one now. So angle KMN, let's do it. Angle KMN is equal to x plus 26. I know what x is. X was 48, right? That's what we solved earlier. So KMN equals, I'm not going to write x, I'm going to put 48 plus 26. And then I add those two numbers together. And I'll get angle KMN equals 74. Now, to make sure we're correct, we do our quick check. We want to make sure 106 plus 74 equals 180. Oops. And it does.